Hey students, welcome to week 9. We're getting really close to the end. For your quiz this week, if you haven't already taken that, I would suggest you take it after you complete your lab this week. You really have to understand the pathways of sperm and eggs before you have a really good, before you're prepared for this quiz. So if you haven't already had lab, you might want to take a picture or something like this and check that out. You can find tons of images on Google. Just find like unlabeled images and search for male and female reproductive tracts. You should really be able to label and identify every part of those tracts. If you can trace the path of sperm and if you can trace the path of an egg through those female duct systems and male duct systems, you should do pretty well on your quiz, but you'll also need to know what each part does. So use this as a starting point if you haven't already studied for the quiz this week. All right, and then I also wanted to show you your next case study. This is your final case study. It's not due until Module 10, so no worries if you haven't already taken a look at it, but it is available to you in your Module 9 folder. All right, you are going to analyze 3 different scenarios here. This is a little bit different than the course projects, or I'm sorry, the case studies that you've been doing already. You are actually going to type up your entire answer, almost like an essay format. Your submission should be about 3 to 4 pages, so keep that in mind. You might want to take a look at this before Sunday night. It's going to take you a while. You will need to take a look at, number 1, the unwed 20-year-old. The number 2 is a 16-year-old pregnant patient. And then number 3 is a same-sex couple looking to become pregnant. So take a look at these 3 scenarios and then address these 3 questions above that are just highlighted here. You'll need to analyze and summarize what's happening in each case, discuss any cultural, ethical, societal issues, and then any personal or healthcare team members' values that might be conflicting with the patients at hand. There is a second page to this document that lists a rubric, and I highlighted a couple things here for you to think about as you complete this document. We are trying to use these case studies as a way to help you reflect a little bit more on your personal, professional skills and reflect a little bit more on those transferable skills that are sometimes considered soft skills. Communication, critical thinking, and so forth. So the first bullet says, identify convergent and divergent ideas. Now that sounds kind of crazy, but that's just a fancy way of saying, did you read the case study, did you interpret it, and did you identify ideas that might be conflicting? So that's part of the summary. For information literacy, you need to evaluate resources for credibility and accuracy. What I'm really looking for there is, did you find a source that backs up what you're saying, and is it valid? For instance, I had a student once who, in the teen pregnancy example, said that 95% of doctors were anti-abortion. And while that was cited, when I looked into that source, it was a little bit biased, and here's why. The 95% was taken from a Christian doctor's seminar, and only 5 doctors were surveyed. Now that's not a credible and accurate resource. While that might have been true for those 5 doctors, that's not representative of the nation, let alone the world. So make sure you're using accurate and credible resources to back up your opinions. All right, and then of course, ethics. You should be fairly familiar with that by now. That's another discussion that you have started to talk about in your labs this week. Communication is pretty straightforward. And then as far as diversity goes, I highlighted the most important part here. I want you to be really aware of your own judgments in each of these cases. So as healthcare professionals, we should really eliminate judgment from our practice. That is ideal. But we are also human beings, and we bring our own life stories and our own personal perspectives to the healthcare system. And sometimes that's a good and sometimes that's a bad thing. So please make sure that you are including your own awareness of what you feel and how you feel in each of these case studies. And then also recognize that you need to sometimes set those aside or set your belief aside in order to best serve your patients. So if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing your work, because this is one of my favorite ones to read. I get to know a little bit more about you and how you think and feel and help guide you along your professional pathways. So I will be in contact next week as we start to wrap up the quarter, and if you have questions, let me know. Thanks.